Please welcome the distinguished members of the New York State Assembly. Please welcome the distinguished members of the New York State Senate.
to remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by First Sergeant Michael Rosen. First Sergeant Rosen is a veteran of Operation Enduring Freedom and a recipient of the Bronze Star.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Now, to begin our event, please join me in recognizing the legislative leaders that are in attendance today. Majority Leader of the New York State Assembly, Honorable Joseph Morelli. Majority Leader Morelli, is the Assembly present? Thank you, Majority Leader Morelli. I'd also like to recognize New York State Senator from the 49th District, Honorable Hugh Farley. Senator Farley, is the Senate present? Thank you, Senator. Now I'd like to recognize some of the distinguished guests who are with us today. Former Governor of the State of New York, David Paterson, has joined us. Former Lieutenant Governor Bob Duffy is here. Former Comptroller of the State of New York and Chair of the SUNY Board of Trustees, H. Carl McCall is here. We are joined by mayors and local leaders from city and towns all across the state, including my mayor from the city of Buffalo, Mayor Byron Brown. City of Rochester Mayor Lovely Warren. City of Syracuse Mayor Stephanie Miner. City of Albany Mayor Kathy Sheehan. City of Yonkers Mayor Mike Spano. And City of New York Mayor Bill de Blasio. We are also joined by many of our county executives and borough presidents, including from my home county of Erie County all the way to Suffolk County. I would like all of them to stand and receive our applause. Let's take a moment to recognize our brothers and sisters in organized labor who are in the room. Please stand. Thank you. We're also joined by a number of first responders and public servants, many of them who came all the way to Western New York during a little problem we had this past November. Some of it called it Snowvember. We had a historic lake effect snow. Governor, I think it hit 7 feet at one time, Governor. We were there. It was tough. But there are people who have responded to the call of need from their friends across the state. So I'd like all those first responders and public servants who are involved in that to please stand at this time. Thank you. Thank you very much. And please give a warm welcome to the youngest New Yorkers in the room. 300 public school students from grades 6 through 12 have joined us today. Stand up. I'd also recognize the members of the Cuomo family who have joined us today. Please give a warm welcome to Sandra Lee. Kara Kennedy Cuomo. Kara? Dr. Margaret Cuomo Mayer. And the former First Lady of the great state of New York, Matilda Cuomo. Mrs. Cuomo, I just want to tell you how grateful we are as New Yorkers for your service, and I think you know there's a lot of love in this room for you today, so thank you. Thank you for joining us. It's now my pleasure to introduce Stacy Miller, who is being recognized as one of our newest master teachers. Stacy?
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, and good afternoon. I teach math to 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students in the Fairport Central School District. For those of you who don't know, that's in Rochester, New York. Many of my students are on the cusp of high school graduation and about to begin the next chapter of their lives. I want them to have every chance to succeed. Programs that encourage them to challenge themselves are crucial to creating these opportunities. Creative initiatives like the Governor's Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics, or STEM incentive program, are the perfect example, giving scholarships to help high-performing students pursue their education at some of the best public colleges and universities in the state. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a math teacher. I also know perfectly well that success in education starts early. In addition to being a teacher, I'm a mother of 2 beautiful children. My daughter is currently in 1st grade, where she's working diligently to master the art of reading, writing, and mathematics. She's doing quite well, and I have no doubt that it's because she was enrolled in a pre-K a few years ago. She attended private pre-K because public options were limited in our area. But thanks to Governor Cuomo and the state of New York, soon every 4-year-old in the state will have access to quality pre-K education. What a powerful statement to the families of this state, that every young child, no matter what their circumstances, will have the opportunity to learn and grow at an early age. I come from a big family of teachers. My husband, brother, and sister are all educators as well. And we all know the tremendously important role that teachers play in impacting children's lives and creating a positive learning environment. I'm incredibly excited that I have just been chosen as one of this year's master teachers, a new initiative helping to create a higher caliber learning environment for our children. It is the first of its kind that truly rewards educators who go above and beyond and encourages us to learn from one another. This new approach, incentivizing innovation and treating the field of teaching as the important profession that it is exactly what we need in order to create an environment where all students can succeed. So thank you, Governor Cuomo, for all that you're doing on this issue, because it is truly making a difference in the lives of students across the state. Now, please join me in welcoming the Governor of the great state of New York, Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Happy New Year to all of you. And to Stacy Miller, who is a master teacher, which identifies literally the best teachers across the state of New York. She's doing extraordinary work. Let's give her a round of applause. Big welcome to our new Lieutenant Governor, Kathy Hochul, who's doing a great job already. To the new Assembly members, welcome you. To the new Senate members, we welcome them. We've been joined by Controller Tom DiNapoli. Pleasure to be with you, Mr. Controller. Let's give him a round of applause. Attorney General Eric Schneiderman. Pleasure to be with you, General. Senate Republican Conference Leader Dean Skelos. To a good year, Dean. Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver. Pleasure to be with you, Mr. Speaker. Independent Conference Leader Jeff Klein. Pleasure, Jeff. Thank you for being here. To Senate Minority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins. Pleasure to be with you, Andrea. Assembly Minority Leader Brian Kolb. Thank you, Brian. We have the members of our fine Court of Appeals. It's an honor to be with you. Thank you, Judge. To our host mayor, Kathy Sheehan, thank you very much. To the very tired mayor of the city of New York who went to Paris and back in one day, pleasure to be with you, Mayor. To all the elected officials who are here today, to my colleagues, to our friends, thank you all very much for being here today. Let me begin by thanking the Senate leader and the Assembly leader for their accommodation for my father's passing. The State of the State address was moved back to accommodate the ceremony around my father's passing, and I truly appreciate their consideration in doing that. I also appreciate all the members of the Senate, all the members of the Assembly who came down to pay their respects to my father. It would have meant a lot to him. He had tremendous respect for this body and tremendous respect for the process and for the legislature. And your attendance was overwhelming. Many of you came from distant parts of the state, and I want you to know, heartfelt, on behalf of the Cuomo family, we thank you very much for taking the time to come. And to all New Yorkers, there's been such an outpouring of notes and letters and phone calls. I can't even begin to explain it. So on behalf, again, of my father and my brothers and my sisters, we want to thank all New Yorkers for the respect that they have shown to my father. Now, if my father knew that we delayed the state of the state on his account, he would not be happy. Slowing the function of government is not something that would have been okay with him. So what we've actually done is accelerated the budget by moving the budget up 5 days. And this is going to be the first joint State of the State and budget presentation, and will actually be 5 days ahead of schedule, which would have made my father happy. Now, the good news is, since it's a joint presentation, budget and State of the State, you only have to sit for one presentation. That's the good news. The bad news is it's a 3-hour presentation. So I will do my best to move along. But there's a lot of good work that we've done and a lot of good work that we want to do, that we want to talk about today. What is the State of the State? New York State is back, and New York State is leading the way forward. And none of this would have happened without the work of the people in this room. Look at how far we've come in just a short period of time. 2010, we had an 8.9% unemployment. Today, it's 5.9%. We had chronically low credit ratings. Today, the highest credit ratings in 40 years by all 3 credit rating agencies. Upstate was in a state of decay and decline and alienation, and Upstate is rebuilding everywhere you go today. Taxes and spending were going up, up, and up, and today we've cut the tax rate to the lowest in 50 years. Property taxes that were going up at about 6% a year are now capped at 2% and then frozen at that rate. When you look at, you should applaud that. It was a period of historic progress, and it has made our state a better state. And it has made life for people in our state better. And that's what this is all about at the end of the day. Making life better for people, and that's what we have actually been doing. Now, I won't say it was an easy 4 years. It was a hard 4 years, and it has taken a toll, some greater toll on some of us than others. But look at where we were when we started. Look at how good Dean Skelos looked just 4 years ago. And look at Shelley. 4 years ago, he was looking good. We were like Saturday Night Fever dudes. That's what we were just 4 years ago. And 4 years later, it's really sad. Pictures don't lie. No, it's true. It really is true. But we believe, and I'm sure I speak for Dean and Shelley, it was worth it, and we'd do it all over again, wouldn't we? New York is now a state of opportunity once again, and our goal today is to reach even higher. And that's what our 2015 Opportunity Agenda is all about: economic opportunity, education, public safety, government reform, and fairness for all. We start with the economy because business is the engine that pulls the train. It's all about jobs, jobs, jobs. It was about 4 years ago, and it is today. And it's about keeping the economy growing. And to keep the economy growing, we have to keep doing what we have been doing that got the economy running in the first place. And in two simple words, it is maintaining the fiscal discipline that we have established. Remember where we were 4 years ago. The state of New York was spending more money than the people in the state were earning. I mean, just think about that concept for a moment. The increase in state spending was going up at a faster rate than New Yorkers were actually earning income. And that wasn't 1 or 2 years. That was for 50 years. The rate of spending was higher than the rate of income. We have reversed that trend and actually turned it the other way. The state now spends, over the past 4 years, 1.3%. That compares to 6.8% over the past 50 years. Because it's not a complicated formula. Because we spend less, we can tax less. And we have made historic progress in that regard. Last year, the lowest middle-class tax rate since 1953. Lowest corporate tax rate since 1968. Lowest manufacturing tax rate since 1917. So by controlling the spending at 2%, we can continue to keep taxes down. If we continue to keep taxes down, we keep businesses coming our way. And that's exactly what our goal for this year should be, starting with small businesses. Small businesses are 98% of all the businesses in New York. Small businesses is where the jobs are being created. That is the lifeblood. Anything we can do to generate small business is what we want to do. We want to have a tax cut for small business that is dramatic, that would take the small business taxes from 6.5% down to 2.5%, the lowest rate in 100 years, and send a real positive signal. And that will show that New York is continuing to be a pro-job, pro-growth state. The next taxes we have to attack are the property tax. At least realize that the increase in real estate taxes is due wholly to the increase in the cost of local and not state government. These taxes on real estate are too high. Local government has in many communities been guilty of great waste and duplication. Who said that quote? I'll give you a hint. Me, Secretary Hillary Clinton, FDR, Ronald Reagan, Steve Aquario. It is not Ronald Reagan. It is not Hillary Clinton. It is not me. It is down to Steve Aquario and FDR. And if it is Steve Aquario, he is fired. So, it is FDR. But that shows how long this problem has actually been going on. It has been New York's chronic problem. And when people complain about high taxes in New York, they're talking about the property tax. Just remember this. The number one business tax is the property tax. The highest tax we collect in the state of New York is the property tax. $50 billion total compared to $40 billion for everything else. We attacked it over the past 4 years. 2011, we capped it. 2014, we froze it. 2015, we're going to cut it and really respond to the needs of homeowners all across this state. Let's pass a 1.7. We have proposed a $1.7 billion property tax relief for 1.3 million homeowners who will save an average of nearly $1,000 per year, and $1,000 in savings can make a difference in people's lives. We would also extend relief to over 1 million renters in the state. When you put the two together, 2.3 million households, just under 1 million upstate, 800,000 New York City, 340,000 Long Island, 139,000. This is real, meaningful, significant tax relief that will make a difference in people's lives and send a very strong signal that the New York we brought you for the past 4 years is the New York that we're going to continue. A growing economy also needs to invest in its infrastructure. We have started a very aggressive infrastructure redesign program downstate with John F. Kennedy and LaGuardia airports, also with Stewart and Republic airports, planning our regional airports as one unit. We want to make Republic and Stewart, Republic is on Long Island, Stewart is in the mid-Hudson. We want to make them tax-free zones so we can bring businesses to Republic and Stewart and take some of the traffic from JFK and LaGuardia and move it out to the Long Island and Stewart Airport. We also want to build 4 Metro North stations in the Bronx to open up that side of the Bronx. Hoorah. I have a name for one of the stations. Diaz Station, we're going to call it. Ruben Diaz Station. We'll invest $150 million to construct vertical parking structures at strategic locations in Long Island and Westchester to assist commuters coming in on the LIRR. We also propose using $1.2 billion of the settlement funds to protect thruway toll payers for a year, so there'll be no increase in the thruway toll for the next year, and to help finance the Tappan Zee Bridge. We're also working with our partners in Washington to secure federal funding to fund the public transportation over the bridge. Congresswoman Nita Lowey has taken the lead in this, as has Congressman Peter King, and they've been very, very helpful. Infrastructure today is less about roads and bridges, in my opinion, and it's more about broadband. A state that doesn't have broadband is not going to be economically successful going forward. Believe it or not, we still have 500,000 homes and 4,000 businesses who have no access to broadband. It tends to be in upstate New York, and it tends to be in poorer communities in New York City. The last place, really, we should have the absence is where we have it. We want to invest $500 million, leverage $500 million in private sector money from the broadcast providers, and let's get New York State fully wired so every business, every home can compete, and let's start doing that now. And there's a new way of thinking about growing jobs in New York State. Jobs are coming out of our higher education system. You look anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, as a matter of fact, where you see regional job growth, and it's always linked to the higher education institutions. And we're in the process of taking our SUNY and our CUNY system and turning them into commercialization and job generators. You look at Stanford University in Silicon Valley, that was an academic exercise that was actually commercialized extraordinarily well and started an entire revolution in the economy. That can happen here in New York, but we have to make the investment. And we have to invest in SUNY 2020 and CUNY 2020 so we know we have the best higher education institutions to provide educations and also to jumpstart the economy. We've been doing it. We want to continue to do it with another $50 million investment this year that I believe will reap dividends. We want to couple that. We want to couple that with a New York State venture fund of $100 million so New York State can invest in many of those young entrepreneurs and many of those startup companies and keep them here in New York rather than finding equity in California or Texas or Florida. Let's invest in our homegrown companies and keep the jobs here now. We also have significant reforms for our community college system. Our community college system, in many cases, is charging students exorbitant tuition, running up debt, giving them training and education for jobs that don't exist. And the person graduates the community college system, has the debt, but can't find a job. More and more, the community college system, where successful, is turning into a training program, almost an apprentice program, for a specific industry. That part of the training is they design what they need, the skills they need. You go to that community college, you get that degree, you come out, you graduate, you go right in to that company. And that's what we have to be doing with our community colleges. We want to link them regionally with the employers in that region, identify specific jobs that are available, and then educate and train for those jobs to make the community college system more rewarding. Past 4 years, we have focused on upstate New York and economic development like never before. I would venture to say there has never been a more concerted effort at developing upstate New York than what we have done over the past 4 years. And upstate was in a terrible cycle of decline. It was losing economic power through no fault of its own, change in the economy, businesses were moving away. But when you lose economic power, you start to lose people. When you start to lose people, you start to lose political power because the loss of population literally relates to loss of political power, which results in loss of government attention, and now you are on a downward cycle. And that's where upstate New York was for many, many years. And it was not getting the care and the attention it deserved. We reversed that cycle. We made upstate New York a priority. We invested. That grew political power. That grew population. And now you see the reverse. And just the way there's a negative synergy, I believe there's a positive synergy. And I believe if you go to a lot of these cities in upstate New York, you feel a totally different energy than you felt 4 years ago, and that is the turnaround that we're talking about. You look at where the unemployment rate dropped. Historically, the unemployment rate, when it dropped, would drop in New York City, and it would stay static upstate New York. You look at these unemployment numbers, and you see how balanced our economy is. The days where downstate flourishes and upstate suffers are over. And this is a very balanced picture and a very balanced economy. The Regional Economic Development Councils are working. They're working extraordinarily well. It was a new idea that said we're going to organize region by region across the state because there is no one economy. There are regional economies. Put everyone at one table. All the politicians, all the business people, all the academics come up with one regional strategy, and then everybody works on that one regional strategy. That's exactly what we've done. It's been a great success, a tremendous amount of work. The former Lieutenant Governor Bob Duffy served as chairman of the Regional Economic Development Councils. He carried the weight on his shoulders. He attended hundreds and hundreds of meetings all around the state, and he inspired this process. Let's give him a big round of applause and a moment of recognition. Stand up, Bob. Come on, stand up. He's the best. We also embarked on a truly ambitious enterprise to turn around Western New York. Now, Western New York, Buffalo, was the single greatest economic problem in the state of New York. Western New York, Buffalo, North Country, and pockets of poverty down south in the Bronx especially. Western New York and Buffalo had been down for so long, they didn't even believe they could come back. I remember when I first started speaking to groups in Buffalo 4 years ago, I would give them my best economic development pitch, and not a single muscle in a single face would move. They had heard it all before. Everybody was leaving. The population was shrinking. Nothing was going to help Buffalo. Nothing was going to turn it around. Well, we did turn around Buffalo. And Buffalo today, the housing market is way up. You have construction, billions and billions of dollars in construction. The private market is flocking to Buffalo. They're writing about Buffalo internationally as a turnaround phenomenon. That's what happened in Buffalo. And it proved to us, if you can turn around Buffalo, you can turn around anything. And we're going to. And we had a great team. We had a great team that worked at it every day and made the difference. And I'd ask them to stand, and let's give them the recognition they deserve. Paul Deister, Byron Brown, Mark Polenkars, Howard Zemsky, and Satish Tripathi. Pleasure. We also propose expanding our green jobs and our environmental programs. The sweet spot for the state of New York is creating jobs in the clean energy, clean environment area. And that's where we want to focus. We want to increase the Environmental Protection Fund to $172 million. We also propose a $50 million farmland preservation fund, $20 million of which will be dedicated to the Hudson Valley, which is one of the precious assets in this state. It is a tourism asset, and we want to keep it that way. And $30 million to strengthen the Southern Tier's rich and growing agriculture industry. because they need help in preserving their lands. To spur new investment in green jobs in the southern tier, we want to hold a $20 million clean energy competition. Let's invite companies internationally to bring their best ideas to the southern tier. We will take the best ideas in clean energy companies. We will invest in them if they cite and grow in the southern tier. We did this in Buffalo. It worked magnificently well. Now let's do it for the southern tier. We also want to expand the upstate economy by investing $65 million in ports and hubs, from Albany to Oswego to Syracuse to the Port of Ogdensburg to the Binghamton Rail Yard. You have to be able to move goods in and out, and this investment will help make it possible. We also want to invest in the State Fair. The State Fair is symbolically and economically important. The State Fair is just that. It's the State Fair. It gets a tremendous number of visitors from all across the state to demonstrate the state's development, the state's beauty, the state's resources. The truth is the State Fair makes money for the state, over $130 million, but the State Fair, in truth, reflects yesterday's New York. It does not reflect today or tomorrow's New York. Let's reimagine the State Fair. Let's invest in it. Let's be proud of it. Let's get a private sector company to come in and partner with us and invest $50 million and really turn around the State Fair the way the state is turning around. Fort Drum is a great North Country asset. We're going to spend $1.5 million to buy an additional 1,300 acres for training and $25 million for improvements along Route 26. Fort Drum is the home to the 10th Mountain Division, which just returned from serving us proudly in Afghanistan. And I visited the 10th Mountain Division while they were in Afghanistan. I'm the person in the picture with the pen in his pocket, you can tell. I wasn't on really serious duty. But the 10th Mountain Division is the most deployed force since 9/11. Just think about that. And 323 soldiers have been lost by the 10th Mountain Division defending our freedom. And we honor their sacrifice, and we have representatives of them here today, and we'd ask them to stand so we can honor you. Tourism continues to be a successful jobs generator, especially in upstate New York. At one time, we had a very robust I Love New York advertising campaign. Over the years, it went away. We started to bring it back. We got more creative in the way we've been marketing the state. We spent over $100 million in advertising over the past 4 years, and our investment has been paying off exponentially. Visitor spending is up $8 billion to $62 billion, believe it or not, 8% higher than the national rate of growth. That's Watkins Glen International, by the way, and that's a very famous New Yorker driving that car on that track. The license plate number 56 is a clue. Our tourism jobs increased by 83,000 to a total of 850,000, double the national rate of growth. That's the walkway over the Hudson. We want to continue this international attention to upstate New York with our challenges and our $25 million investment in the I Love New York, the Adirondack Challenges, the Governor's Cup, the fishing challenges, the promotion of our wine industry, which is doing great. And we want to continue this effort because it's been reaping dividends. We also want to expand our global markets as the next step. We want to set up a global export-import bank. The federal government has one. I worked with it when I was in the federal government, but it has a tremendous impact. And if we capitalize our export-import bank with $35 million, I believe we're going to see multiples of that as dividends. We're going to be leading trade missions to New York's top economic partners, including Canada, China, Israel, and Mexico. I'm going to invite the leaders to come with me on these. We went to Israel last year, and we had a great trip. And this year, we're going to be our own version of the Three Amigos. A little different than the past, but the same basic idea. So we will ride again. We'll also lead a trade mission to America's newest economic partner, which is Cuba. And we would like to be one of the first states to Cuba just from a competitive point of view economically. Let us be the first one there. Let us develop the relationship. Let us open the markets, and let us get opportunities for New York companies. Our economic recovery must reach all New Yorkers, and there are New Yorkers who are still left in the shadow of opportunity. The sad truth is, with all the growth in the economy, poverty still exists in this country, and poverty still exists in the state of New York. Two of the poorest communities in the state of New York, and those orange areas are areas where they have poverty greater than 20%. But two of the poorest are Rochester and the Bronx. Rochester has the highest child poverty rate in the state, and the Bronx has the highest overall poverty rate in the state. We want to build on our successful efforts, first at employing minority youth. We have a strike force that's been working in the Bronx. It's been working very well. We want to add $10 million to get young people jobs, keep them off the street corner, give them a positive path to follow. In Rochester, we are creating an anti-poverty task force to lift children and their families out of poverty. And we're starting that now. Pope Paul said, if you want peace, work for justice. And that's just what we're trying to do. We have the highest income inequality since the 20s. And for too many, the dream of economic mobility has been replaced with the reality of stagnation. Many people believe if you are born poor, you're going to die poor. And that is the exact opposite of what the American dream promised. The American dream was all about mobility. And wherever you start, you can move forward and you can move up. That was the beauty of this country. And that's why people came. It didn't matter if you were rich or you were poor, if you were white or you're black. You came here and you could be whatever you wanted to be. You had a chance to do it. This country never guaranteed success, but it did guarantee opportunity. And that promise is slipping away. And we have an agenda that will work to bring it back. First, we believe we should raise the minimum wage. We raised it once. We believe the gap continues to get worse. We would raise the minimum wage to $10.50 statewide, and in New York City, which is a high-cost area, to $11.50. Minimum wage is very simple. We believe if you work full-time you should be able to pay the rent and pay for food and not live in poverty. That's the basic promise of employment, and we're not there yet. We still have a hunger problem in this state in many communities. Let's invest $4.5 million to expand our emergency food access, because in 2015, there is no excuse why any man, woman, or child should go hungry in the state of New York. And to provide housing and affordable housing, we want to increase our investment by $486 million. Let's do the affordable housing we need. Let's do the community development we need so we don't wind up with homeless people in the first place. On the chronic issue of unemployment for minority men, we have an urban youth jobs program that provides the employer with a training subsidy if they hire a young person. We'll pay for the training, and we'll also subsidize part of the income. We've hired over 20,000 young men with this program. It works. Let's keep it going and double the funding and double the jobs. 4 years ago, the state's procurement goal for minority and women-owned businesses was 10%, which was about $800 million in state contracts were set aside for women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses. We raised that 10% to 20%. Last year, we surpassed the 20%, and we went to 25%, which was $2 billion in state contracts that went to women-owned companies and minority-owned companies. This year, we want to take it even to a new level, a national level, set the highest goal in the nation, and go to 30%, $2.4 billion for minority and women-owned businesses. Many of our new college graduates face high student loan debt as they begin their career, and it's a troubling situation because they have high debt and low wages. We want to help them get on their feet for their first 2 years. If they come out of college, they have high debt and a job where they earn less than $50,000 per year, which is the level at which they probably can't afford to pay off their debt. We'll pay the debt for the first 2 years so they can get their feet under them and they can get on with their lives. We have a vast array of not-for-profits and community development organizations in this state that are really an untapped potential that we want to bring into the mainstream and we want to develop to access state programs. We want to grow the capacity through a new office of faith-based community development services, going to be led by Assemblyman and Pastor Karim Kamara. Let's give him a round of applause. Congratulations, Karim. He only gets one yay. Give him more than one yay. Yay! We'll also invest $50 million in the not-for-profit sector on a capacity building fund to get them the technical skills they need to do it. Education, the great equalizer. And this is the area, my friends, where I think we need to do the most reform, and frankly, where reform is going to be difficult, given the situation of the way education is funded in this state. Our education system needs dramatic reform, and it has for years. And I believe this is the year to do it. This is the year to roll up our sleeves and take on the dramatic challenge that has eluded us for so many years, for so many reasons. We will pursue an ambitious P-12 agenda, professionalize teaching and increase standards, strengthen teacher evaluations, reward excellent teachers, transform states' failing schools, expeditiously but fairly remove ineffective teachers, expand charter schools, pass the ETC and the DREAM Act, extend mayoral control, continue support for 4-year-olds in pre-K. Let's do them one at a time. We want the best teachers in our classroom. Every study says the quality of the teacher makes a difference in the school. We must start treating teaching like the profession that it actually is. In 2013, this legislature put in place a quote-unquote bar exam, an entrance exam for teachers. Last year, every prospective teacher had to take a 12th grade literacy test. Of the teachers who took it, 32% failed a 12th grade literacy test, and these are teachers who are about to walk into a classroom. These are teachers who we're giving to our children. We need a real set of standards for entering the profession. And we also want to recruit the best and the brightest, and I believe you have to incentivize for that. We are proposing that we will pay full tuition for SUNY or CUNY for the top graduates if they commit to going to teach in New York schools for 5 years. And we will create a residency program to give teachers early training just the way we do with doctors. Now, everyone will tell you nationwide, the key to educational reform is a teacher evaluation system. Why? So you know what teachers are doing well, what teachers need work, and what teachers are struggling. A teacher evaluation system. New York has talked about it for years and years and years. We were supposed to implement the teacher evaluation system 5 years ago in exchange for receiving federal money called Race to the Top. The schools were reluctant to do it. Last year we said if a school didn't complete a teacher evaluation system, they wouldn't get state funding, the excess funding. Lo and behold, 100% of the teachers now have a teacher evaluation system. 100% of the schools adopted a teacher evaluation system. That's the good news. We have teacher evaluation systems for every school in the system. The bad news is they are baloney. Now, 38% of high school students are college ready. 38%. 98.7% of high school teachers are rated effective. How can that be? How can 38% of the students be ready, but 98% of the teachers effective? 31% of 3rd to 8th graders are proficient in English, but 99% of the teachers are rated effective. 35% of 3rd to 8th graders proficient in math, 98% of the teachers rated effective. Who are we kidding, my friends? The problem is clear and the solution is clear. We need real, accurate, fair teacher evaluations. We asked the State Department of Education for their ideas, and they gave us their feedback, and we accept their recommendations. To reduce the overtesting of students, we will eliminate local exams and base 50% of the evaluation on state exams. Second, the other 50% of the evaluation should be limited to independent classroom observations. Teachers may not be rated effective or highly effective unless they are effective in both the test and the observation categories. We will stop local score inflation, which has resulted in virtually all teachers being rated by setting scoring bands in the state law. We propose tenure to only be granted when a teacher achieves 5 consecutive years of effective ratings. And once we have a fair evaluation system, we can incentivize performance. And we will. I believe the teacher evaluation system should be used to incentivize and reward high-performing teachers. And if a teacher is doing well, incentivize that teacher who's doing well and pay them accordingly. We would pay any teacher who gets highly effective a $20,000 bonus on top of the salary that that teacher is getting paid, because we want to incentivize high performance. In 2013, we created the Master Teacher Program, which rewards the highest performing teachers in the system. Today, we have 552 master teachers. These are the best of the best. These are mentors to their colleagues. They have achieved the highest tests on scores. They are teachers who go above and beyond and give more to their students than anyone has a right to ask. We're joined by them today. Let them stand so we can honor them and thank them for their contribution. For teachers who need support after the evaluation, we will offer a teacher improvement plan to get them the help they need. In the unfortunate case, we have a chronically ineffective teacher who, despite our help, does not improve. We must protect our students by removing the chronically ineffective teacher from the classroom.